Bland, your host with Wytlabs, a full-service marketing agency. Today's guest is Ross. Ross, feel free to introduce yourself and let our viewers know about your background.
My name is Ross Halleck. I'm the owner and vintner of Halleck Vineyard, a boutique family winery in Sonoma County, California.
Awesome. Well, what inspired you to create your brand?
Well, I chose wine as my drug of choice when I was in my mid-20s. Frankly, I never expected that I would be a vintner and a winemaker, but I happened to land in Northern California, which was soon to be known as Silicon Valley. As a young man, my first job was working at a fruit stand, and because it was an agricultural area. I'm dating myself now. And I went to college at University of California in Santa Cruz, and I majored in graphic design and marketing communications. And I began doing creative work for these young companies that were in the technology space. Originally, they were video game companies. And when I had a couple of nickels to rub together, I started collecting wine. It was like, there were a lot of drugs to choose from. Wine just sort of held my attention. I had a curiosity. It sort of touched on all the notes. Social, of course, intellectual, cultural, even spiritual. And bought a house in Menlo Park, watched the property values rise astronomically in a very short period of time. And I thought, well, I could live in Silicon Valley and commute to wine country because I chose doing a lot of work for the wineries. I could live in wine country and live in and commute to Silicon Valley. So I moved to a house in Sebastopol, California, which had not previously been wine country. Had a backyard and planted a 1 acre vineyard. And we won #1 Pinot Noir in North America, our very first vintage.
Awesome.
So I would say that I was called.
That's amazing. Who's your ideal target audience for your wines?
It's changed over the years. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. But I would say people between the ages of 35 and 50 who make a comfortable living and enjoy the finer things of life and are looking to enjoy some of the finest wines in the world.
Awesome. What makes you better than the other vineyards?
I think the right answer to that is I don't know. We make wines. Making wine is kind of a surrender experiment. You just sort of lean in. The earth is the relationship that sort of drives the product. And we've been very fortunate. I moved to a magic spot to grow some amazing fruit. We've expanded by purchasing vineyards from our neighbors. And we continue to win accolades and awards. We've won #1 Pinot Noir in North America 4 times.
Wow.
We have won #1 white wine in the state of California twice. And total, we have over 8 best of class awards and competitions, some of which, like in the San Francisco Chronicle, there are over 7,000 wines competing. So to say, what makes us better, what makes us win those awards, the right answer is I don't know. But I would say what attracts people to our brand and what keeps them, because 80% of our wines are sold to our wine club, is the fact that our mission is more than just creating a social lubricant. We're intent on making the world a better place, and our mission is building community through wine, and we manifest that across a wide range of activities that resonate with people and touch people's hearts.
Amazing. What's your best-selling wine?
They all sell pretty equally.
More important question, what is your favorite wine?
Stephen, do you have children?
I do.
How many?
I have one that's 2 years old.
Oh, well, if you had more, it would be a more relevant question. But it's sort of like my children. I love them all equally, but I like them differently depending on how they're behaving.
That's fair.
And how they behave really depends on a lot of things each day, because they behave differently every single day. And sometimes it has to do with who I'm with. Sometimes it has to do with my mood. Sometimes it has to do with what I'm having, where I am, and where they are in their life cycle. So it's kind of an infinite number of variables that contribute to how they're behaving.
That's a fair answer. What's your future plan for yourself and the brand?
Well, fortunately, we're still really passionate about what we're doing. Many people would be looking at this stage toward retirement. And frankly, I love everything that I do every day. I get to travel all around the world. I get to meet amazing people, and I get to make a difference in the world. Surprisingly, through wine, one of our strategies is contributing. So I think we've been growing pretty consistently every year after year. And there's a joke in the wine business. How do you make a small fortune in the wine business? You start with a large fortune. And that makes everybody smile unless you're living it, because we didn't start with a large fortune. And so every time we grow, we have to borrow more money. So we won #1 Pinot Noir in the United States, our first vintage, and we've been in debt ever since. But we do grow each year, and we still enjoy what we're doing. And our sons are grown and gone, and they're thriving in their own careers. So there isn't sort of a natural progression. But we have some people working for us that are really interested in maybe taking the helm. But in the meantime, we just want to see Halleck Vineyard grow and thrive, and meet more people and touch more lives.
My favorite member of your team is Frankie. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He looks so happy. So being an entrepreneur and having the brand, what are some challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think the biggest challenge we faced, and I think I share this. Well, there were two big challenges in the last 25 years. The first was 2008 with the crash, and in short, when we won #1 Pinot Noir in the United States, that was in the early 2000s, and banks were just throwing money around, and we got picked up by a distributor, and our bank lent us just a whole boatload of money for really nothing more than interest. And so we grew very quickly. And then in 2008, they asked for it all back. And we had a lot of wine, but we didn't really have any cash. And so they froze our line of credit, of course.
Yeah.
And we were forced to endure a workout program. For those who are unfamiliar, it's an activity with a bank where you come out sweaty but not physically fit. And we were able to work ourselves out of that, and chose to pull out of distribution entirely, work directly with our customers. So 80% of our wines are sold to our wine club, and 20% to the finest restaurants and private clubs in the United States. You can't buy our wines retail, and that pivot has allowed us to thrive. And the second thing, of course, was COVID. If given the fact that our business is reliant on direct-to-consumer business, during COVID, we were shut down. We could no longer taste people and host people. And so we had we made a very quick and interesting pivot where we began doing virtual tastings. And we got picked up by Forbes magazine very early. And that resulted in a call from Citibank. And we did probably as many as 1,000 virtual tastings with Citibank over the 2 years that we did during COVID. We still maintain a wonderful relationship with that bank. And we are now doing live events with them.
Yeah.
But that turn of events allowed us to weather that storm.
Awesome. It's amazing. What activities, you mentioned a few, what's been the most successful activity to promote the brand?
One of the things that we do for our wine club members, as I said, our mission is making the world a better place. And to start with, to make a small fortune, you need a large fortune.
Mm-hmm.
And I hoped that by this age or at this stage of my career, I would be able to go to these charity wine auctions and be one of those guys raising my paddle. That isn't going to happen. But what we do instead is we create events that money can't buy, and we auction them off for the charities of our wine club members. These have included, vintner dinners with Mike Anthony at the Gramercy Tavern, Thomas Keller, trips to Cuba, culinary trips to Cuba, wine and wildlife safari to South Africa, and gala events with Josh Groban and seeing him on stage in New York. Last year, we broke $1 million in philanthropic contributions.
Wow.
And so that's been meaningful to us and to our wine club members and hopefully to the world.
That's incredible. What advice can you give an entrepreneur that's looking to start a brand in 2024?
I would say stick to your knitting. There's a lot of marketing people out there that are going to tell you to create scarcity, to manufacture an image that resonates with your audience. And I would counsel that authenticity will resonate beyond anything you could manufacture. And so if you're true to yourself, people will sense it. They'll feel it. You'll be able to touch them. And so I would say stay authentic.
Amazing advice, Ross. I appreciate you coming on the podcast today and hearing your story. And thank you for your time.
Well, thanks for your time as well and
Definitely.
the invitation.
Thank you.